Your quiz is tomorrow, and it's on sections 5.4 and 6.1. So the first page is 6.1 stuff. The second page is 5.4, so it's kind of backwards. But let's take a look at number 1. So here we are dealing with our exponents, and our exponents are going to have fractions. So remember, the number on the bottom is your index. And the index goes out front. So it becomes a square root. And we take that number and put it out front. So we have the square root. Everything on the inside stays on the inside, and whatever is on top stays on top. So now we want to simplify inside of our radical first. So p to the 4th power is like saying p times p times p times p. 4 p's. We have to circle groups of how many here? Groups of how many? Groups of 2. So we have 2 p's here and 2 p's here. For everything that we circle, we take out a p, or we take out one of those. So here we take out 2 p's. So we have p times p, that comes outside. We only simplified what's inside of our parentheses here. We still have that cubed on the outside that we have to deal with. So we have p times p cubed. So this is like saying p times p 3 times. So p times p times p times p times p times p. So 1, 2, 3 times. How many p's total do we have? Six. So our answer is p to the 6th power. Another way we can do this, when we just have one variable inside of our parentheses, we can just multiply our exponents together. So we can say 4 times 3 halves. So this is like saying 4 over 1 times 3 over 2. We multiply the tops together and then just multiply the bottoms together, so it's 3 times 4. And 1 times 2? 2. And what's 12 divided by 2? 6. So this is like saying p to the 6th power. So you get the same answer, it's just a different way of doing it. On the quiz tomorrow, you have to show your work. So if you want to do it this way, just make sure you show your work, multiplying it out. If you want to do it this way, you just have to show the steps here. So whichever way you want to do it, it's up to you. All right, let's look at number 2. Or we're just going to do the odd ones. If we have time, we'll come back to the other ones. But I just want to get through the long division and stuff like that. So we're just going to do the odd ones for now. I'll put the rest of them on the review video in case we don't have time to come back. So what is our index here? What number is going to go in front of our radical? Anybody know? What's our index? 5. The denominator is our index. That goes in front of our radical. So we have the 5th root of x to the 10th power. And then the exponent on top stays on top. So squared. So we have 10 to the x to the 10th power inside of our radical. So this is like saying x times x times x times x 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have to circle groups of how many here? Groups of 5. So we circle 5 x's and 5 x's. How many x's come to the outside? 2, because we have 2 circles. So we have x squared on the outside. And then this is squared, because we still have this squared from up top. So x squared squared is like saying x times x 2 times. So x times x times x times x. So how many x's total do we have? 4. So this is x to the 4th power. Again, we can do it the other way just by multiplying these two together. So we have 10 times 2 over 5. So this is like 10 over 1 times 2 over 5. So we multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms. What's 10 times 2?
20.
20. And 5 times 1 is 5.
5.
What's 20 divided by 5? 4. So we have x to the 4th power. So again, just 2 different ways of doing the same thing, you get the same answer. Whichever way you choose to do it, make sure you show your work. All right, let's look at number 5. Any questions on that one? All right, 5. So which numbers are indexed? What's going to go out front?
The 2.
The 2. So we have the square root of 16 cubed. So we need to list all of our factors of 16. What are some factors of 16? 8 times 2?
4.
Or 4 and 4, whichever one you want to do. You'll get the same thing. What are factors of 8? 4 and 2?
4.
And factors of 4?
2 and 2.
2 and 2. So we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. We have to circle groups of how many? Groups of 2. So we have 2 2's here and 2 2's here. So how many 2's are going to come out? How many circles do we have? 2. So we have 2 times 2. That comes out. What's 2 times 2?
4.
4. So this is 4 to the 3rd power. What's 4 to the 3rd power? It's like saying 4 times 4 times 4. What do we get?
64.
64. Awesome. On your quiz tomorrow, there will be a question that says divide using long division and divide using synthetic division. For the one that says long division, you have to divide using long division. You have to show your work and divide it using long division. If you do synthetic division, when it says to do long division, you won't get any points. All right, let's look at number 7. So when dividing with long division, you have to make sure all of your terms are represented. So if we start with an x cubed, we need an x squared, an x, and just a number with no x. So here we start with an x cubed. Do we have an x squared? No. What do we do if we're missing a term? What are we going to put there? We put a 0 n squared, because now we have an n squared. So we have to use that as our placeholder. And then we have just an n and a constant, so we're good. Now we have every term represented. N minus 2 goes on the outside, and the long one goes on the inside. So n cubed plus 0n squared minus 3n plus 2. Now we divide. What's n cubed divided by n? n squared. So n squared. What do we do once we put a number on top? How? We got to multiply it to everything out front. So we have n squared times n, which is n cubed. And then n squared times negative 2 is what? Negative 2n squared. What do we do next? Before we combine them together, what do we have to do?
Change the sign.
Change the signs. Can't forget to change the signs. This becomes a negative and a positive. So the n cubes cancel, and then we combine them together. So 0n squared plus 2n squared is just 2n squared. Now we do the same thing. What is 2n squared divided by n? Awesome. 2n. Once we put it on top, what do we do?
Multiply it by what's outside.
Multiply it by everything out front. So 2n times n is 2n squared. And 2n times negative 2 is negative 4n. What do we do next?
Change the sign.
Awesome, change the signs. So this becomes negative and positive. So these cancel. What's negative 3n plus 4n? What's 4 minus 3? 1. So just 1n. And then we start from the top. So we divide n by n. What's n divided by n? What if you had like 5 divided by 5? What would this simplify to? 1. So n divided by n is 1. Now we take 1, multiply it to everything out front. So it's 1 times n. N. And 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. What do we do next? What's next?
Change the sign.
Change the signs. Change the signs. So n minus n cancels. Then what do we do?
Bring down the 2.
Bring down the 2. So it's 2 plus 2.
4.
4. What do we do with that 4?
It's our remainder.
That's our remainder. Awesome. So our answer is n squared plus 2n plus 1, remainder 4. So when doing these problems, it's the same 4 steps over and over again. Step 1, let's see if my pencil will work. So after you have it set up, step 1 is going to be divide. Step 2 is then multiply. You multiply whatever's on top by whatever's out front. Step 3 is you change the signs. And step 4 is to combine or add them together. And then after you do it, you repeat back from step 1. So it's just the same 4 steps over and over. Alright, let's take a look at number 9. Are we missing any terms here?
No.
So we have x cubed, x squared. Do we have an x all by itself? X to the first power? Nope, we're missing that. So in here we have to put 0, x. Now we have x minus 5 out front, and then the big one goes on the inside. So x cubed minus 5x squared plus 0x plus 5. Now we start off by dividing. So x cubed divided by x, what do we get?
X squared.
X squared. Then we multiply. X squared times x minus 5 would just be x squared minus 5, or x cubed actually, minus 5x squared. What do we do next? What's step 3? Change the signs. This becomes a negative, this becomes a positive. So the x cubes cancel. What's negative 5x squared plus 5x squared? It cancels out, so it's just 0x squared. What is 0x squared divided by x? 0x, or just 0. We can put 0x. And then we multiply 0x times everything out front. So 0x times x squared would just be 0. And 0 times negative 5 is just 0. We could change the signs, but we don't really need to because positive 0 and negative 0 are the same thing. Oh my gosh. Somebody was outside and scared me because I have the window open. I just had a heart attack. Okay, what's 0 plus 0? 0. And then back from the top, we divide. What's 0 divided by x? Just 0. Then we multiply. 0 times x is just 0. And 0 times negative 5 is 0. And then we bring down this 5. What's 5 plus 0? 5. What do we do with the 5?
That's our remainder.
That's our remainder. So our remainder is 5. So we would write our answer as x squared, remainder 5. You could just leave this one as your answer if you wanted to. It's the same thing. You don't need the zeros, so you only need this part. X squared, remainder 5. Yes. Do you want me to do 8 or 10?
Can you do 10?
Yeah. Alright. So number 10. Are we missing any terms in here?
K by itself.
We have a k all by itself. So we have
K
squared, we have 1, and then we have no k. So we're good. Since we started with squared here, we just need everything after that. So even though like the other ones we did had k cubed or x cubed, we don't have to have an x cubed term. Only if that's our first one, then we need everything after. But since our first one here is k squared, we just need k squared and everything after. But we have everything, so we're good. We can just put that into our box. So we have 2k squared minus 8k plus 3. So first step is divide. What's 2k squared divided by k?
But it's just like 2K.
2k. Next step is to multiply, so 2k times k would give us 2k squared. And then 2k times negative 4 is negative 8k. What do we do next?
Change the sign.
Change the sign to make this negative. This one becomes positive. What happens to our 2k squareds?
They cancel.
They cancel. And then what's negative 8k plus 8k? They cancel, so it's just 0k. Or you could just put 0. So then we divide, what's 0 divided by k? What's 0 divided by anything? 0.
Yeah.
And then once we divide, we multiply. So it's 0 times k?
0.
0. And 0 times negative 4?
0.
0. And then we add these together. 3 plus 0 is what?
Negative 3.
3 plus 0.
Oh, sorry, just 3.
Just 3. What do we do next?
Isn't that a remainder?
That's our remainder. Perfect. So our remainder is 3. So we would write our answer as 2k, remainder 3. Alright, let's move on to synthetic division. So same thing when we have synthetic division, we need every term represented, but we're only looking at the coefficients here. We only care about the numbers in front of our terms. So we start with x to the 4th power, then we have 3rd power squared, just an x, and then a constant. So we're good. So we're just going to put all of our coefficients inside the box. So we start with 1, then what comes next?
Negative 13.
Negative 13, and then
32.
32, and then
73.
and then last.
Negative 64.
And what goes outside of the box? Not negative 8. Remember, when you put this on the outside, you have to change the sign. So it's actually positive 8 that goes on the outside. So super important that you change the sign here. If you don't, you'll get a totally different answer. Change the sign. Alright, step 1, bring down the first number. And then we multiply everything on the outside. So 8 times 1 gives us 8. What's negative 13 plus 8?
Negative 5.
Negative 5. And then 8 times negative 5?
Negative 40.
Negative 40. 32 minus 40?
Negative.
Negative 8. 8 times negative 8? Negative 64.
Negative 64.
And 73 minus 64? 9. 8 times 9? 72. And negative 64 plus 72.
8.
8. Alright, so that's our coefficients for our answer. Now we need our x's. So if we started with x to the 4th power in our question, what's our answer going to start with?
The to the 4th power.
So
X to the 4th.
we always start with 1 less. So x to the 4th, we would start with x to the 3rd. And then what comes after x to the 3rd power?
Would it be x squared?
X squared. And then what comes next?
Just x.
Just x. And then last would be nothing. And then what's 8? What's
Is
the
that the remainder?
8 is the remainder, so the last number is always the remainder. So we would write this as x cubed minus 5x squared minus 8x plus 9 remainder 8. So this was a long one with pretty big numbers, but definitely still doable. Alright, let's take a look at 13. Actually, let's do number 12. Are we missing any terms here? X to the 2nd power. Perfect. So in here, we need to put 0, x to the 2nd power. So what are all of our coefficients? What's going to go inside of our box?
One. Negative 9. 0. Negative 4. And 42.
Perfect. What goes outside the box?
Positive 9.
Awesome. We have to change the sign so it becomes a positive 9 on the outside. Alright, now we can start. What do we do first?
Multiply 1 times 9.
Bring down the 1 and then multiply 1 times 9, which is 9. What's negative 9 plus 9?
0.
0. And 9 times 0?
0.
0. 0 plus 0?
0.
9 times 0?
0.
And negative 4 plus 0? Negative 4. What's 9 times negative 4?
Negative 36.
Negative 32. 36. Yeah, 36. Oops. Oh no. I don't know what I just did, but it's okay. 36. And then 42 minus 36.
6.
6. Alright. So if our question, oh, I deleted the question. Our question started with x to the 4th power. So what does our answer start with?
X to the 3rd.
X to the 3rd power. And then next we have x squared. And then x, then our constant, and what's our last number?
6.
6. Well, what is it? What about 6?
It's the remainder.
It's the remainder. Last number is always the remainder. So our answer is going to be x cubed minus 4, remainder 6.